want to talk about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest, certified relationship, intimacy and sex coach for women, helping you become sexually empowered so that you can have a better sex and intimacy with your partner. No other than Miss Skyeblu Cutchie.
Hi, Daniel. Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Welcome to Book 101, Miss Sky Blue. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure. So, as you said, I'm a certified relationship, intimacy, and sex therapist. And I specialize in helping women and couples have better sex and intimacy in their lives. Um, there's my website.
Yes.
Yeah. Um,
Yes, go
mm,
ahead.
oh, go for it.
Feel like you've lost your spark. Can you tell us about this? Let's bring back your sexual desire without adding one more thing to your to-do list.
Yes. So, this is really speaking to women specifically. A lot of women feel like they've lost their spark. They don't feel the desire or the want for sex and intimacy in their relationship anymore. And they don't know why, they don't know what happened. And a lot of women feel like sex and intimacy in a long term relationship becomes just a thing on the to do list, something to check off, and not something to really look forward to and to be excited about.
Yes.
And they just go through the motions and it's not fun anymore.
Miss Sky Blue, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world.
Yep.
And today, let's talk about the real reason women lose desire in long term relationships.
Mm.
Tell us what's the most damaging misconception about women's declining desire in long term relationships that you aim
Mm.
to dismantle?
Great question. So I think for a lot of women, they're not having sex that they really enjoy. It's not about their pleasure, it's probably about their partner's pleasure. um, just from socialization and the things that we're taught as girls and women is that we give sex to male partners. And it's not about figuring out what do I want, what feels good to me. And it's more about what does he want and what feels good to him. And over time, like it's not very fun, right? If you eat a meal that you're not super into for most of your life, you're gonna probably want to eat that less and less until finally you're like, I don't want to eat that anymore. It's not great. I don't look forward to it. So that's a metaphor that I like to use. So the misconception is that like women don't like sex, and I don't think that's correct. I think it's that women probably aren't having sex that they're enjoying and that they look forward to.
Interesting topic and hot, Miss Sky Blue. While hormones and health play a role, your topic or our topic for the reason, what are the primarily relational, psychological, or societal factors you identify as the real reason to desire often fades for women?
Um, so you asked me, can you repeat your question one more time, please?
Yes. What are the primarily relational, psychological, and societal factors you identify as the real reason desire often fades for women?
Yes, thank you. So a lot of women, and it's not 100%, it's not black and white, only women want this, men want this too, but primarily women want more connection, like physical connection, that's not just sex, and they want emotional connection. They want to feel seen and understood and wanted and desired in their relationship outside of the bedroom. And a lot of men are taught in our society that the way that you get love is through sex. So a lot of men will only approach a woman for like connection when he's wanting to have sex. And so this like for a lot of women that's a huge turn off. She starts to associate touch with sex and it feels like a lot of pressure. So that's a pretty common point of friction I see when I work with couples. And it's not that anybody's doing anything wrong. It's just we need to expand how we think about connection and intimacy in relationships. Like that's such a huge umbrella. There's so many things that a couple needs to work on in order to feel like their sexual desires are being fulfilled.
Connections indeed. And how does the pervasive cultural narrative that women are broken if they lose desire impact their self-esteem, relationships, and willingness to seek help?
Hmm. I think it impacts women's self esteem quite a bit because in society, you know, we see it on TV and movies and read it in books that, like, if someone shows desire for you, you're supposed to just, like, boom, like, want them back. You're supposed to be interested in sex and intimacy automatically. And for a lot of women, that's not the case. They need a lot of like warm up and stimulation, and they need time to get excited about that type of connection. But a lot of women don't know that about themselves. So if they don't boom just want it right off the bat, they feel like they might be broken. Or their partners might think there's something wrong with you, or there's something wrong with your hormones. And so they just start to feel bad about themselves. You know, there's something wrong with me, or what's wrong with my relationship, or like they just feel bad about their bodies because their bodies have changed over time. That's also a common thing that affects self esteem as well, that's impacted by society.
Mrs. Sky Blue, how does unresolved conflict, resentment, or lack of emotional safety specifically sabotage sexual desire for women?
Hmm. Emotional safety is very important for everybody, but for women who in general want to be seen and heard in a relationship, like they want to know that their partner wants their whole self, you know, their spirit, their not just their body, their emotions, their thoughts, every little piece of them. If they are living with a partner or with a partner who can't see all of that or can't receive feelings, for example, if you tell them, hey, I don't feel good about something that happened, and a partner gets really upset or defensive or tells you, like, no, that didn't happen, that does not feel safe. That tells me I can't tell you how I'm feeling and you're not going to show up for me. I don't feel safe. And what generally happens is when we're not feeling safe, our body also starts to kind of close up and shut down. And we're like, well, I'm not going to feel safe opening up to you physically either. So they're very connected.
Mrs. Sky Blue, long-term relationships often fall into routines. How does a lack of novelty, excitement, or even separateness outside the relationship contribute to diminished desire?
Can you repeat the first part, please?
Long-term relationships often fall into routines.
Mm-hmm. Routine. Yeah. So In the beginning of a relationship, and in the first 6 to 12 months of a relationship, things feel very exciting and we get butterflies in our stomach, and this person is very new, everything's novel, and we get kind of flooded with this really excited new relationship energy. Everyone is probably familiar with that sensation, and that feels really good at the time. And then what people don't realize is that that naturally starts to wane. That's a natural thing that happens. There's nothing wrong with it waning. After 12 to 18 months, we will get into long term relationship territory. Things feel less exciting. This person is not as new. Things are not as novel. They get familiar. You're comfortable. And suddenly you don't get those butterflies anymore. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. It's totally normal. This is just how relationships progress. But the problem is if you don't realize that, if you don't realize this is a natural progression, then people think, well, there's something wrong with us. Why don't we feel like we did when we first started dating? Why don't we have hot sex all the time like when we were first together? What's going on? So, to address that, you just need to realize that you have to intentionally prioritize romance, connection, create opportunities for more intimacy and for sex. And it's just a different kind of intimacy and sex than it was at the beginning of your relationship. It doesn't mean that it's worse, it's just different. And the intentionality part is really, really important. So, a long term relationship can still be fun and exciting. It's never going to feel like it did in the very, very beginning because that's just how relationships work, but that's also okay.
Mrs. Skyeblu, a certified relationship, intimacy, and sex coach for women. What are your short term and long term goals?
Oh, great question. My short term goal is I've started weightlifting again for the first time in a few years, and I'm working on my strength and my flexibility. And one day I really want to be able to do a pull up. That would be great, and it's really hard for me. So that's a goal. A long term goal for me is I'm expanding my coaching business, Intimacy with Blue, and I'm creating these group programs. And so, long term, I want to see those group programs for women like really, really flourish.
Well, good luck to your goals, Mrs. Sky Blue, and looking forward for more and more success.
Thank
What will be
you.
your piece of advice for those people out there want to be, of course, like you?
Oh, my advice for ladies who are feeling disconnected in their relationships, they're feeling distant from their partner, I would say, like, there's hope. Like, there are changes that you can make on your own that don't require your partner to change for you to start experiencing something different in your relationship. That might be working on communication skills or figuring out like what kind of sex and intimacy do you really want that you would enjoy. Figuring out how to talk about those things. And if you want any support, this is what I do. I love working with women. So you can always reach out to me if you want some support in that area.
Yes, and thank you for that advice, Miss Sky Blue. And can you please recommend the books or book that influence your journey?
Yeah. So I have this book here. It's called Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. And it's written for women, but honestly, anybody of any gender can read this book and get a ton of information from it. It's really about human sexuality, and it's really easy to read. It's not for like professionals, it's for every person to read. and it talks about like sexuality in your brain and in your nervous system and in your body, and like how to feel turned on, how to work with stress, talks about orgasms. Like, it's one of my favorite books ever, and I recommend it to everyone. I use it in my practice with clients all the time.
Thank you for that recommendation, Mrs. Sky Blue. And what is the single most important message you want women to take away after reading that book that you recommend?
Oh, yeah. So in this book, one of my favorite parts is this. Emily Nagoski uses this metaphor about like a car has brakes and accelerators. In our brain, we have a brake and accelerator in terms of what turns us on and what turns us off. And
Yes.
figuring that out about yourself, which you can do in the book, there's a little quiz. Knowing what your turn ons are and what your turn offs are is really going to help you be able to access your sexuality more and more and increase your desire for intimacy as well.
How important is a woman's individual sense of self, her own pleasure, or her own relational sexuality in sustaining desire within the relationship?
I'd say it's very important because if you're only having sex the way that your partner wants to have it, or because they want to have it, or you think you should have it, but you're not doing it because you want to or because of the things that you're enjoying, you're going to stop wanting that other thing pretty quick. So, understanding your own wants and desires and the things that you want to explore, like that keeps things fun and fresh, and free. So it's very important.
Mrs. Sky Blue, why are common suggestions like try new positions or schedule sex are often insufficient or even counterproductive for addressing the root causes you discuss?
Mm. So a lot of people talk about scheduling sex, and for some people, it does really help those folks. But if there are other issues going on, and it's actually more like there's connection issues going on, or um, we don't talk about sex, or I don't even know what I like. If you just schedule it, it's not going to address those issues. So usually I dial it back and I'm like, what's going on underneath all of that? And let's talk about that first, because sex and intimacy is a really in depth, layered experience for people. So we need to get to the root cause before we do things like slap it on a calendar.
Well, Miss Sky Blue, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast law 101 and mental health 101, love letters in third season, and Movie 101 review and Music 101 in fourth season and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Mrs. Sky Blue, when do you recommend couples seek sex therapy for couples counseling specifically for this issue? And what should they look for a qualified professional?
So I recommend that a couple sees a sex therapist like right away. You don't have to be in crisis to see a sex therapist. I actually recommend doing it way before that. You can talk about like, what does sex even mean to you? What kind of sex do we want to have together? Are there any things that you feel anxious about? How do you keep the spark alive long term? Like, there's all these awesome things that you can you can process together before a crisis occurs. It's actually harder if you only do it when there's a crisis, because then it's crisis time, crisis mode. And when you look for a sex therapist or a professional, I recommend finding someone who is certified with some sort of certification in sex therapy or sex coaching. That tells you that like they've done a ton of training, they have a lot of experience, and they got the stamp of approval by some sort of regulatory board. And make sure that you gel with that person's personality, right? Like some of you listening might really like my vibe, and some of you might not, and that's okay. Make sure that your sex therapist is a person you really like and you want to spend some time with.
Yes, Miss Skyeblu Cutchie, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Oh, thank you so much. I love being here. And right now, I have a free 3-day challenge coming up called More Than Just Roommates. And it's for women who want to feel more connected and have deeper intimacy in their relationships. And you can find that in my Facebook group, Thriving Women in Relationships. And I will give Daniel all the links so he can share them with you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, yes, people, let's support Mrs. Skyeblu Cutchie because if you support her, for sure, more and more and more empowering advocacy to come, more and more therapy to come. So, Mrs. Skyeblu, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.